Today, I am going to be building an app inside ChatGPT. I'm going to use Gadget's built-in ChatGPT connection, and it'll handle all the boilerplate for me. Give me things like OAuth out of the box, I'll have an MCP server set up, and I'll be able to build in React with hot module reloading. The connection is also going to integrate seamlessly with OpenAI's Apps SDK. Let's get started. Okay, I'm going to get started building my to-do list in ChatGPT using their Apps SDK and Gadget. Gadget's going to handle all of the boilerplate required to build ChatGPT apps. It's going to handle OAuth. We're going to give you an MCP server that we'll customize, and then we'll be building our to-do list in React. We're going to build a little ChatGPT widget. So I'm just going to go to gadget.new to create my new app. Select the ChatGPT app type. We'll enable auth and give my app a name, my ChatGPT to-dos. And because Gadget is a full stack hosted and auto-scaled dev platform, I do get a Postgres database here. It's going to power my data models. I have a serverless node backend. That's where my MCP server is built on top of. And we've got a React front end, and it is powered by Vite. First thing I'm going to do is connect to ChatGPT. You do have to turn on developer mode. This is only available to paid accounts as of today. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it. I will copy this MCP server URL. You can't see the full URL here, but if I do open my routes folder, MCP, it's just to these endpoints, the post endpoint that is called. I'm going to pop open the apps and connectors page here in ChatGPT and create my app. I'll paste in my URL. You see, it's just my MCP route. Give it a name, to-dos, and I'll create to kick off OAuth. So I have another video, and we've got lots of documentation on everything that the Gadget template, the starter app, provides you. So I'm not going to walk through it. I'm just going to focus on what we need to customize to build our to-do list app. You can see that OAuth is handled. This is actually a sign-in route built into my Gadget app. I'm just going to use Google to go ahead and sign in. And when I do this, it'll go ahead and create a record in my user model here. So we're redirected to this authorize route. Once again, this is a route on my Gadget app. I can customize this page if I want, but I will allow access. All of the necessary auth tokens will be issued, and I will be ready to start building. There we go. So I can see that there are my starter actions. There's a Hello Gadget action that is tied to a output template, which is a widget I can render in ChatGPT. And there is this auth tool call. This allows us to make authenticator requests using our Gadget API client from within our widgets. We're going to walk through that in a bit when we get to our actual to-do list. So I'm going to close this. Let's just test it out, make sure the connection is set up properly. Copy this prompt, paste it in. I will add my app as context just to make sure the right app is called. I've only got this app installed, so it should make the right call, but just to just to make sure. And what this will do is ChatGPT will see that there is a tool call available called Hello Gadget. It'll call my MCP server, which will go ahead and render the resource we've defined. Oh, well, it's going to go ahead and reconnect. And there we go. We have our starter template. So we know things are working properly. Let's go ahead and start building our to-do list. I'll just open up a new chat here. I'm going to close my assistant. First thing I can do is add a to-do data model. So like I said, Gadget does have a Postgres database under the hood. When I go ahead and create a new to-do model, it creates a new table in my database. By default, we're giving you this ID, created at and updated at fields, and we are relating your to-dos to the user model. So once again, everything is going to be multi-tenant by default. I can select the inverse of my relationship so that my user has many to-dos. Then I can go ahead and add some custom fields. If I go item, this creates a new column in my database. This is where I'll store my to-do description. I can make it required if I want, or write my own validation. I'll just use the built-in required, and I can add an is complete. We'll make that a Boolean, and we'll give it the default value of false. So that's it. I'm done with my data modeling. This will give me a place to store my to-dos. When I create them, I will be able to see this in the data tab. It's empty right now. When I create my models in Gadget, I also get an automatically generated CRUD API. It's going to be create, read, update, and delete. You can see we have create, delete, and update actions available here. by default, create, believe it or not, is going to go ahead and create records for my to-do model. Delete will delete, update will update. This prevent cross-user data access because my to-do is related to my user. This means that when a user creates a to-do using an authenticated API client that is session aware, it will be automatically related to that existing user. And you do get a little sample off to the side here to show how to use the automatically generated client, API client. So it's just api.todo.create. And you can see you're passing in is complete item, and you can manually link to the user if your API client isn't session aware. Under the hood, everything is GraphQL, and we'll actually use React in our to-do list widget. So there we go. So we've got our CRUD API, we've got our data model, we're ready to start customizing our MCP server. So I'm just gonna go ahead and close my models up, go to mcp.ts in my API folder. Everything is pre-set up for you. How this works, the short version, is that we're registering resources automatically. So this is in the web ChatGPT folder. We're creating this resource URI, which is super important because we use this resource URI in a follow-up tool call as an output template. So that's how when ChatGPT makes this Hello Gadget tool call, it knows to render this Hello Gadget widget, which is available here in my web ChatGPT folder. So you see there's Hello Gadget. So let's go ahead and create an empty to-do list. So now automatically that to-do list will be returned as part of this get widgets call, which is just part of a Vite plugin that we wrote and include in your app by default. So we'll be registering that to-do list automatically. All of the to-do list content, HTML and such, will be passed in automatically. I just need to make a tool call or register a tool call so that I can actually render that widget, tell GPT when to show me my list of to-dos. So let's go MCP server dot. This is going to look very similar to the current one we have, but we'll write it up from scratch. It's good to see. We'll go register tool. First thing I'm going to do is give it a name. Just call this list to-dos. I'm going to pass in a couple properties, just some information about this tool call. We'll give it a title. Believe it or not, this will also be list to-dos. In our description, this will list my to-dos. This is mind-blowing stuff, I know. I'm going to add an annotations property. What this does is if I don't include this read-only hint annotation, when ChatGPT makes my tool call in a new conversation, it'll prompt me and say, hey, do you actually want to go ahead and give access or allow this tool call to be made? I just want to skip that. I just want my widget to appear as part of my conversation. So this just skips that little widget pop-up, that confirmation box. Last thing I'm going to add are a couple meta properties. And if we go and look at our Hello Gadget tool call that we already used, the important one is this output template. So I can actually just go ahead and copy this. Instead of Hello Gadget, I want my to-do list template. And once again, this will match the name of the widget in our ChatGPT folder, to-do list.tsx, it's just .html instead. I can also go ahead, add this tool behavior hint for ChatGPT. We can add a couple other properties. These ones are mostly just for fun. If we go tool invocation, invoking, we can give ChatGPT a little message display while my tool call is being made. So this could be loading your to-dos. It could be loading your list of shame, which I'll leave it as. And we can also give ChatGPT a message to display after your tool has been called. So it's the same, tool invocation invoked. Here are your to-dos. Perfect. So there is one more thing we want to pass in, just a function, because we actually need to load up our to-dos. We need to read them from our database and pass them into our front-end widget. And so we're going to do this in this function here. To start, we're going to do something to, well, not list to-dos. Let's go read to-dos. I'm going to leave this commented out, and I'm just going to go to the return statement first. So we need to return a couple things. The first is my structured content. This is the actual input that is passed in to my front-end widget. So this is going to be my to-dos. The other piece is content. I'm not going to use content. Content is just how I pass additional information to the model. I'm not going to be passing anything that's different from my structured content, so I'm just going to rely on structured content for now. So now we just need to actually define this to-dos object. So if we go const to-dos, I need to use an API client to read to-dos in my database. Now we've already set up this API client for you. And we're using this act as session, which will mean that when we read data, we're only reading it for the current user. So it will make multi-tenant requests from your MCP server. This works because when ChatGPT makes the tool call from your front-end widget, it attaches the required OAuth token as an authorization bearer header. And that's going to come in to your MCP routes here, and it will be included on this fastify request object that we're just passing to this create MCP server function here in the post request right here. And so because we have that token, we know who the current user is, we know what the current session is. So when we use act as session, it uses this API client as if it was that authenticated user making the request, which means it will only be able to read or write data for that individual user. So once again, multi-tenancy is built in. You can leave this off if you want to act as an admin. It's like a super user. You can read or write data for anyone. In most cases, you'll probably want act as session though. We do have more documentation on act as session or act as admin. So let's go ahead and use that API client. So if I just go await api.todo.find many, that's how I can read some to-dos. By default, this will read 50 records. I can make it read 250 records. And then pagination is also built into the API. I'm not going to go through pagination. I will not have more than 250 to-dos. Instead, I would just start removing things from my list, even if they aren't complete. So there we go. That will actually read my current users' to-dos and pass them to my front-end widget. So that's all I need to do to customize my MCP server. Last thing we need to do is go ahead and build our front-end widget. Now, I've got a lot more code for this, so I'm just going to copy paste it. And before I actually walk through the code, let's take a look at our front-end widget. So in order to register the changes to my MCP server, my new tool call, I do need to go back to my app and click refresh. What ChatGPT will do is call my MCP endpoint. It'll see there is a new tool call added, list to-dos, and it's now been registered with my app. So we've got my output template registered. I've got my invoking and invoked messages here as well. Let's try it out. Show me my to-dos. And it should find, oh. Let's try retrying. Now, if we do see an error like that, I don't think it was due to our Gadget app, but I can always check the logs. If I go to error, okay, there's nothing here. So I think that was a ChatGPT error. Seems to be working fine this time. Here are my to-dos, and here's my to-do list, and oh, it's loading up another one. Don't know why it does that. It does do it sometimes. I'm just gonna use my second to-do list here, and I can go ahead and add some to-dos. Let's go, clean, car, wash, dishes, rake, leaves. It is that time of the year. And then I can go ahead and as I complete to-dos, I can just click them and they'll be completed. And as I am interacting with my to-do list here, my front-end widget is using an API client to go ahead, call that CRUD API on my to-do model. And I can see if I pop open my model that my data is being saved and it's being associated with my current user. So let's just do a quick walkthrough of our widget code here. See, we're using some plain old React state. We are using some components and icons that we have pre-built in the web folder for you. If I just pop open UI, bunch of components, you don't need to use these if you don't want. Once again, this is just a node project. There is a package JSON, so if you want to add your own packages, build your own components, feel free to. The more interesting stuff is down here. we are pulling in some React hooks from this React ChatGPT apps package. We're using this to interact with the window.openai API. And this is what allows us to do things like go full screen, minimize, or if I go ahead and refresh my chat here, you see that my to-dos are persisted. You notice that my title is not. I'll show you the difference there. But ultimately, we're using a built-in widget state API to store our to-dos so that when I refresh or go to a new chat and come back, they're instantly available. I don't need to go ahead and refetch my to-dos from the back end. My title here, Riley's to-dos, I'm actually fetching that user information. So that shows the difference in a fetch or that instant widget state refresh. And then we are using some React hooks from Gadget. And this is just how I interact with my Gadget API in React. This use action hook is how I call my create action to create new to-dos or update action to update to-dos. And we're using my API client. And that's just that web API here. It's predefined for me. So we're defining some types for our to-dos. We've got to-do state type, and we're just passing this in to our use widget state hook. And that widget state, once again, is how I am persisting my to-dos between browser sessions so that it loads up really quickly. And this just works like your typical use state hook in React. We've got our state and set state, and we're just predefining it to to-dos. This use session hook is how I'm popping up that name, Riley's to-dos. So I'm just using my session to go ahead and get my current user. So this hook is using that API client under the hood. It is grabbing the correct user, so everything is multi-tenant from within this widget as well. That's just what I want to show off there. We're using this use widget props hook to actually load our tool output. And this is that structured content we're passing in through our MCP server. Most of the rest of this is just plain old React, which is kind of nice. Like, this is the unique stuff here. I did kind of skip over this full screen button. We're also using some hooks to handle full screen mode versus inline. But the rest of this is just React. We've got some use state hooks to handle our to-do form and loading our initial to-dos from to-do output. We do have these use action hooks. So this is how I am calling my create action and update action. We've got this create to-do and update to-do that we're calling down here. There's handle add to-do. We're calling create to-do with our new to-do item. We're calling handle toggle complete. So when I click on a to-do, we're just calling our update action and setting is complete to true. That's all that's going on. And those hooks are giving us our newly created and updated to-do data. We have Booleans, fetching Booleans that we're aliasing to show loading states. And then we have error information. And then all we have here, like, we're using our state from our use widget state to define our to-dos and render them. We've got a bunch of use effect hooks, and this is just setting up. They're all calling set state, I believe, yes. They're all calling set state just to set our widget state so that when we refresh the page, it is loading up nice and snappy. So we've got a use effect hook for loading our initial to-dos, our tool output. We have another use effect hook that is just setting the state whenever we create a new to-do. And we've got a third use effect hook that is just being used to complete our to-dos and update our state based on the completed, updated to-do data. Once again, plain old React down here. There's a form for handling our to-do input. We're just using our use state hook values to go ahead and update the state, present the state value, and on submit, we're firing off this handle add to-do and calling that function. And then we've just got our to-dos list. We've got a loading skeleton for individual to-dos when we create, and a loading skeleton for when we are loading up our full list of to-dos. So just to show off how the tool output works, if I open up a new chat and say, show me my to-dos, what this will do is in our MCP server, it'll load up our existing to-dos, pass them as structured content, load them up as tool output in our widget, and we should see our existing to-dos when ChatGPT loads up the widget. So there we go. It passed in this information through our MCP server to our widget, and now it's part of our widget state. One more thing that I want to show, I just want to prove that multi-tenancy works. I don't have another user right now, but if I modify this to user 11 clean car, user 11 doesn't exist, but I should only read, rake leaves, and wash dishes. So if I open up yet another chat, show me my to-dos, I should expect to see only 2 to-dos this time. And that's because that request in my MCP server to read my to-dos will only read to-dos that are associated with my current user. So there we go. So now we've only got our 2 to-dos. Wash car, I believe, or clean car is no longer on my to-do list. Fantastic. One more quick thing I want to show off, and that's when using the ChatGPT Atlas browser. So I'm just going to go ahead, open it up here, pop open a new tab. I'm going to go ahead, show me my to-dos. So what this will do, once again, make my tool call. This will function like using ChatGPT in any other browser. Oh, once again, it's doubling up. That's okay. What I want to show off is if I actually go full screen mode here, we get this button in the top right corner. If I click this, I actually get my ChatGPT app side by side with my web app. So your Gadget app does include a full web app as well. So you can build a web app that has ChatGPT functionality all in the same place. So if I go, I'm now at a signed in route. I've got my ChatGPT app here. I'm going to go back to Gadget. If I open up my routes folder under web, this is just going to be signed in, and I'm going to use my AI assistant. Please make me a fancy to-do list at my signed in route. So I've already got my data model set up. I've already done my API. It's going to use the exact same API calls. The AI should just roll out a fancy to-do list. And then I can see my fancy to-do list in my web app side by side with my ChatGPT to-do list. This is really just neat bonus content. We have like finished building our ChatGPT app. I'm just showing off that you've got a full web app beside your ChatGPT app. So if you just want a ChatGPT app, you've already got a web app, you can kind of ignore all this. So it's going to use the same components that we use for our ChatGPT app. I'm hoping it makes it a bit fancier. Tailwind is built in, so it will be using that to do some styling. And we'll just give the AI assistant time to roll out a to-do list. We can see changes as they're made, and we'll be able to view changes in the full screen. We've got a diff view. Once they're done, I'm not going to review the changes too closely. I'm probably just going to apply them and see what we get, which is not good if I were building a production app, but this is just a demo and it's just a to-do list. So there we go. The AI assistant is making some changes. When it's finished, this apply button will be clickable, and we'll use that to go ahead and preview our fancy new to-do list. I hope it's fancy. There we go. So once again, we can view changes full screen, and we can just go ahead and accept them. And now if let's go back to, so there we go. It is not super fancy. I was hoping for something a bit fancier, to be honest, but it is a bit fancier. And now I can add to-dos in either place. Now this is kind of a weird example. Why would you want to add to-dos or have two to-do lists like that? Truth is you probably don't, but it does give you an opportunity to build interesting interactions between your ChatGPT widget and your main web app. There is one kind of neat thing I want to show off. So in my signed in route, we are reading our to-dos using a use find many hook. So instead of going, api.todos.find many, it's a use find many hook on api.todo. We do actually support live queries in Gadget. So this is built into your API. So if I go live true, my to-dos, oh goodness. My to-dos here in Gadget should update automatically. So if I add buy cat, you see it appears automatically in my web app to-do list. So that's actually opening a WebSocket connection from my database right to my front end, so that when I update something here in my ChatGPT widget, it updates automatically over here. So I just want to show that off. You can get kind of a side-by-side view, which is kind of neat. Is it useful? Not in this case, but I'm sure for some apps it will be, because it allows you to go from your ChatGPT app to a full app experience. So that was a quick introduction to building and customizing your ChatGPT apps in Gadget. If you have any questions, check out our documentation or hop in our developer Discord and ask us a question. Until next time, I hope you keep building more and coding less with Gadget.